Hello and welcome to the G3 Pulse podcast. Today, our guest is Tom O'Brien, President Americas and EMEA at Aristocrat. Tommy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Lois. Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. I was going to ask, first of all, I got a whole list of questions to run through today. As with most gaming execs, nobody leaves the kind of colleges, universities with a gaming degree. So I was wondering, how did you get into the gaming industry? And what were you originally planning to do when when you get asked that question as a kid? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, I saw that question and I actually loved it because there's no straight answer what you want to be. People, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a cop, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a dentist, all that stuff, right? So for me, I was about 18 years old, and my brother had gotten into the business in Atlantic City for Casino Harris in Atlantic City, and he started fixing slot machines, and then got promoted up the chain real quick. At the time, I was just a waiter at the casino, and I had a gentleman ask me if I wanted to try fixing slot machines. He liked the way I was running around the casino floor, or the restaurant floor. I said to him, "Yeah, I have no interest in this. I don't even know what I want to make." Right? So no, thank you. I'm not going to do it. And then, a couple of weeks later, I talked to my brother, and he said, "You're crazy. Get back in there and talk to this guy." So I did. I went back in and talked to him. And before I knew it, 2 weeks later, I was taking an electronics exam, passed the exam, went in and got my degree in fixing slot machines, and off I went. I opened 2 casinos in Atlantic City, was on the operations side for about 11 years. When I opened Taj Mahal, I was a shift manager there, which was probably one of the best times I ever had, understanding the basics of slot floors and how it works, because I had a bigger job. So it was a lot of fun for me, right? And then at 28 years old, I got handed the keys to Universal Distributing at the time, and they just called me and said, "You're GM now." So, okay.
Okay.
So you take things as they go, and you asked, what's the degree? The degree for me was I really didn't have a chance to keep schooling. I went right into learning it. I call it the School of Hard Knocks, but it's really street, right? It's all learning it from the street. You go to the casinos, you go to the customers, you go to all the operations, the routes, you see everything that goes on, you learn, and that's kind of how I did it.
So going from the operation side to the supplier side, was that something that was kind of organic that you wanted to do, or was that just an opportunity that arose?
It was another opportunity that rose for me at Taj Mahal. I was at Taj Mahal, a guy comes up to me one day and says, "Hey, we'd love to have you on this side of the business." And again, I said, "No, I'm doing very well where I'm at. Thank you. I have plans of becoming a slot director and working my way up." And, again, a couple of weeks later, I thought it through and said, "You know what, my career, I'd like to try that. That'd be pretty cool." So I was always open to trying something new. And so that's how I got into Universal. And within 2.5 years, I worked pretty hard at it. I got promoted a couple of times and then moved all the way up to GM. And that was how I got to Las Vegas 29 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. When I first met you, that was in Macau, and I'm trying to remember the year, but it was a way back, and you were working for Interblock at the time. Before that, you were with the Paltronics team, as I remember, and then when it was sold to Aristocrat, you've actually had quite a cyclical journey back to where you are now. What I was wondering, from leaving Aristocrat back then, whenever it was, to now, what's been the first thing that you kind of noticed as you returned, that things that are the same, but things that are actually very different?
Yeah, good question, right? So I get that a lot from folks. They ask me, "Hey, what do you see as the difference from when you were there the first time and here?" And what I'll say to you is this: my time at Aristocrat the first time was almost 4 years, from 2004 to 7, and it was probably one of the best times I'd ever had. It's a great company. The culture was always really good. At the time, our president was Gavin Isaacs, who was absolutely fantastic. Loved working with him. And of course, as life changes, someone else came to get me, and I decided to try something new. Went over to IGT for a bit. When I got back here in 2020, you had asked a question about that, and how did that work out for you? The culture is the same but better. It's changed a lot, right? I think I think Aristocrat's always had a great culture. I think they treat their employees unbelievable. And we, my current boss is Hector Fernandez. He and I have this thing where it's employees first, then
Yeah.
customers, then our business. And we mean that, because without the employees, we just don't generate what we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
So the culture to me is second to none. So it's even better than when I was here the first time. Different board, of course, different CEO,
Yeah.
global CEO. Great people. I love working here.
You joined, as you mentioned, then in 2020, just before or just around the time of the pandemic hitting. What was that like?
It's crazy. I was here 2 weeks, and before I knew it, we were unfortunately hit with the pandemic, and
Yeah.
everybody went, for the most part, home. What I did learn from that is there's always a way to handle your business, right? So I
Hmm.
think this team got together. We were resilient. We worked hard every day to try and figure out how fast can we bring our folks back? How fast can we figure out how to help our current customers? Because remember, customers are not used to a casino shutting down, right? So the
No.
casino shuts down and they go into a panic themselves. What do? We came out with some projects to help our customers and help our employees. We brought our employees back as fast as possible. And I think a lot of that is because our entire executive team met on a daily basis. And we constantly kept coming up with new ideas of how to get people back and then how to help the customers. So we did. We'd go out and find customers who really were short-staffed from the pandemic.
Okay.
We would go out there and help them reorganize their floor, because it also gave customers a chance to reset, as you know, out there on the operators itself on the casino floor. But I think the experience was it was tough, but it was also amazing at the same time, because the resiliency of this team is nothing short of amazing. It's a
Yeah,
great group.
yeah. I mean, it sounds almost positive in that kind of resetting and actually working with the customer again. And it leads into one of the questions I had about what has the pandemic actually done to EGTs and slots? Has there been a good influence from COVID, and obviously there have been bad influences as well, or has it kind of lean one side more than the other?
From my perspective, I think it's been nothing but positive coming out of the pandemic. I mean, as you well know, the gaming numbers have never been better. I mean,
Yeah.
we've reached all-time highs. And everybody asks the same question, as do you see it dropping? Do you see it dropping? Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you that everything is still looking very strong for us. I can tell you
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And one of the things that the pandemic did allow us to do is, as I started to tell you before, is reset those operators, right? So
Okay.
go out there, help them. Sometimes more is better, and in some cases less is better. You have some casinos, which I just visited recently, that have reached 10,000 slot machines.
Okay.
And then you've got some that have dropped down and they've never seen their revenues higher. So they
Right.
were making
Okay.
more with less.
Yeah.
It really just depends on the jurisdiction and the customer.
Mm. Well, that again leads on to one of the things I wanted to ask was about before the pandemic, you had slots were going through something of a existential crisis with operators asking questions about the next generation, thinking about skill base, thinking about new audiences, and the play base was said to be dwindling. Then you've had sports betting online, we've had the pandemic, and do you think that position on slots is now settled? Do you think operators are now taking kind of a different view, are seeing it as a revenue stream whereby maybe online and slot and sports betting has taken some of the pressure off the slots, and that operators now are just wanting slots as they are, but great slots, great really kind of rather than revolutionizing the sector, revolutionizing that part, they just want great games now.
Yeah, and as I said to you earlier, one of the things that I think was the reset on those floors. You've
Okay.
allowed the slots directors and VPs to go out there and figure out exactly, hey, what did I really need and what don't I need for that floor, right?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I've said this a few times, iGaming and sports betting has really just done nothing more but enhance things for us, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's always trying to find that magic, the crystal ball of, hey, how do I get younger generation players to come in here? Is it through sports betting? Is it through iGaming? There are no true numbers to come out, I think, as far as that goes yet. But I
Yeah.
would say to you that slots has never been stronger, in my opinion. Again, this is my 39th year in gaming, so I've never seen it as strong as it is today. So
Yeah, it seems as though it's reset itself in understanding that slots don't need to be the catch-all,
Yeah,
do everything
for
type
sure.
product. It
Yeah.
can they can just be great slot games, and then everything else within the gaming kind of panoply can actually play out as it was supposed to be. What was interesting about obviously what's happening with machines in particular recently, as I mentioned, all of these kind of products which have got chips in them, which are kind of machine based, from cars to computers to laptops and phones, etc. We've never been more aware of how the components are precious and supply chains are being affected. Are we still seeing those shortages? And are we still having problems with supply for operators?
Look, it's a fluid situation every day, right? So
Okay.
I would tell you that if you just heard our last earnings call for the first half of 22, you'd find that we just had an absolute blowout first half. So we did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Again, I give our teams the credit for that. They worked very, very hard. They got ahead of the game, and
Yeah.
we were able to keep our supply chain moving. It changes daily, but so far, so far we're able to do it. You know, one day you don't have a harness, the next day you have a bunch of harnesses. One day you
Okay.
don't have a chip, the next day you have chips. So it really does change quite a bit. But I think with the hard work of our team, they've done a great job at securing what we need to get our products out there.
And are you keeping up with demand? Because it does feel as though demand's really strong at the minute.
We are keeping with demand at the moment. Yep.
Cool. The turnaround of slots that we saw previously, I'm thinking, pre the pandemic, was getting faster and faster, and you saw that in the last decade with slots on floors for shorter and shorter periods of time. As we continue to face those supply issues, are buying habits and the distribution of machines changing post COVID?
Yeah, it's so not at this moment.
Okay.
Again, that question was asked to me before. I don't see that
Okay.
changing at the moment. I really
All right.
don't. If anything, there are some people that it probably does make nervous. So you may see a speed up as far as orders go and saying, hey, I want to get more in now because I don't want to be one of the people that are left short.
Okay.
We're not seeing that part of the problem yet. So
Okay.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed every day, man.
Yeah,
You know,
well, trying to get hold of anything at the moment is incredibly difficult. So yeah, I kind of sympathise with that. The As online and mobile and sports betting gain greater and greater traction, there's the whole swell of momentum behind those right now. There's something we've seen from the European side, but the US seems to be absolutely on a flyer at the moment. Are How are OEMs actually adapting the product to kind of fit this audience, which they are bringing in customers from different areas? How do kind of slots mesh into that? Are they finding a new audience? Are they finding that they can cross sell across different products as well?
well, I think from our side, Lewis, what we're doing is our digital side has helped us quite a bit. I just came back from a recent trip where some of our folks are utilizing some of the digital implementation that we're doing with our games and bringing
Okay.
it back over to land-based side. It's
Okay.
actually helping us.
Okay.
So we're seeing an increase in that.
And is that part of that kind of omni-channel experience that we've been hearing for a long, long time? Are we kind of touching distance? Are we in it? Are we moving through it? Where are we on that kind of journey, Tom?
Yeah, I don't know the true answer to that. I will tell you from my perspective, what I see, it is slowly going that way, right? Because the more you have these omni-channel experiences going on, you can get more out to the players in different ways, right? So
Okay.
a lot of people are afraid that if I have iGaming, I'm going to hurt my land-based properties and so on. And
Yeah.
as I said before, other operators I've spoken to have found ways to not only generate more revenue on iGaming, but bring those people back into the properties, right? So
Okay.
if you're cross marketing, you can get those folks in there and you can get them to do both, which is
And
fantastic for
yeah,
us,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And as we emerge from the pandemic, how right positioned is Aristocrat right now to kind of capitalize on those opportunities as well?
Yeah, look, again, our division is Real Money Gaming division is hard at work right now, getting prepared for our first launch coming up later in the summer
Okay.
for Real Money Gaming, and you're going to see Mitchell Bowen's division get that prepared and ready to go. It's
Yeah.
coming, so we're excited about it. We've been in social aspect, and our team from digital does a fantastic job. So I think coming out of this and full speed ahead.
Okay.
Full speed ahead for Aristocrat.
Um, as we mentioned, the US is doing extremely well at the moment. The rest of the world not quite kind of catching up to that, but we're kind of recovering at different rates and paces. Um, where do you see that kind of figuring in? I mean, looking at the rest of the world as a potential is all the focus on the US at the moment, and then there's the rest of the world's in the periphery, just because there's so much demand, and as we were talking about, supply has pressure on it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think we're constantly focused. You know, as I said earlier, Hector's now our CEO of Global Land-Based Gaming, and you know we meet quite a bit, he and I, on all kinds of options. Now,
Okay.
you are right. It's slowed down a little bit everywhere else because the pandemic hit a little harder in some places, right?
Yeah.
Europe kind of shut down, in my opinion, twice, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
to get them going. They're now going full speed, and I will be making a trip out there in the next 10 days to
Okay.
see some of the folks out there. So I'm excited about that. But
Oh,
I would say to you that eventually it will be full speed ahead for everybody. It's just a little slower going, right? We just move a little quicker, I think.
okay. Okay. My final question really was about, obviously you've had this. We started from the beginning of the podcast about your journey.
Yeah.
And the number of years we both had in the sector so far. What is it that you're still looking to achieve, Tommy? What is there still out there for you to do, and why is Aristocrat the place for you right now at this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know, Aristocrat's going to be my final homestand for me, right? As I said to you earlier, 39 years in this business.
Hmm.
I love gaming. I really do. I get up every day, and there's nothing I don't love about it. There's no other business I'd want to be in. I caught the bug when I was very young, as I explained earlier, and I've never looked back.
Okay.
I think, you know, look, we do a great job as a company at getting in our younger generation, right? We have a future leaders program where we bring younger generation out right out of college, bring them in, figure out where they want to be, and I've seen a few of them shine already because they get in and they just go, "Wow, this is an amazing business. Why
Yeah.
would you want to be in anything else?" It's just my opinion, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I love
No, it's
gaming.
true.
You know, most people retire after, you know, if you're a cop, you're out 35 years later.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going probably until they kick me out because I love it here.
Yeah.
I love the company and I love the people. So
Yeah, it's one of those
I'm
things where very few people leave the business. Very few people, when it gets into the blood, very few people actually leave. They may change jobs and roles and things, but yeah,
yeah,
it's that kind of pulling you back in each time. It just gets
yeah,
it gets into you, definitely.
yeah. It's been a blast. I'll tell you. You know, I was talking to my wife the other day, and she said, "You know, you're going to be 40 years next year in this business. You're an old man." I said, "Well, not that.
Well,
Not
what?
not Not mine wise. Mine wise, I still feel like I'm 25, so I'm going to keep going as long as I want to keep going.
Yeah,
There's no better place to do it, in my opinion,
yeah,
than with the Aristocrat gaming.
yeah.
So I love it.
Okay, well, great. Well, I look forward to meeting you at G2E. I've skipped the last couple of years for obvious reasons, but
Of
I
course.
had a 20-year streak running at one point, so I'm looking to kind of fill my card again. I look forward to meeting you at the show.
Same here. Same here. And thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I
No, I've
love it.
really enjoyed it. Thank you for filling us in on all the details, and yeah, we look forward to seeing what's coming from next from Aristocrat.
Right.
Really in the run up to G2E, but definitely looking forward to being on the booth at G2E.
You've got it. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
You too. Thanks, Tommy. Bye.
Bye bye.